Celebrating my wife's birthday, we grabbed lunch at QUINCE, a 3-star restaurant here in San Francisco. We had no idea what to expect, and since it was spring, they had a spring-themed menu called Celebration of White Asparagus. Starting the meal, we had 3 small bites, one with caviar, one with carrot puree, and I honestly forgot what the last one was, even though it was my favorite. Next up, we had one of our first appetizers, which was English peas with an avocado puree. This dish was really light and refreshing, and it really opened up our appetites. Afterwards, we got the first asparagus dish, which was cooked in a broth made of herbs, and also came with some morel mushrooms. The herby broth removed a lot of the strong asparagus aftertaste, and it made the dish really enjoyable to eat. Of course, we also got some bread, and here we had 3 different choices between sourdough, sesame, and a black bread, which was made using grano arso, which means burnt wheat in Italian. Surprisingly, the black bread was my favorite, and it had a rustic taste to it. The bread was essentially unlimited, and we ate about 3 of each. While munching on some bread, our main courses started flowing in. First, we had the tortellini with caviar and tarragon. I'm not a huge fan of caviar, but the sauce that they had really made this dish stand out. Next up was the second asparagus dish, which was white asparagus sitting on top of a truffle carbonara sauce. The carbonara was great, and I definitely recommend saving some bread, especially for this dish. Finishing up the main course, we had a beautifully cooked squab from a farm that only sells the squab to QUINCE, according to the staff. The only other time I had squab was the Cantonese version, which is usually roasted, so this was a really nice way to try out squab in a different way, and it also had a little smoky flavor to it as well. For dessert, we had something like shaved ice made with rhubarb. Since this was a spring-focused menu, the dessert was meant to represent the sakura flowers that you can typically find in Japan during this time. Lastly, we had a mignardi, which is a French term representing small bites that's typically enjoyed at the end of the meal. We had many choices to choose from, such as caramel, bonbons, madeleine, and a hazelnut puff, which was honestly my favorite. You can choose as many as you wanted, and the staff was even kind enough to push us to get some more because we only chose a few of them. One thing to note is when I made the reservation for lunch, there wasn't a set menu or course that they were gonna have. They did have a few options for dinner, but for lunch there was only one option, which doesn't really specify which course that you'll get until you arrive, which was a little bit strange in my opinion. I also would have thought twice before making the reservation if I knew what it was, because the first 2 items of the course already contained 2 things that my wife didn't like, which was peas and asparagus. The chefs handled the ingredients really well, to the point where my wife actually enjoyed the dishes a lot more than she was anticipating, and so did I. The food was delicious, and you can tell that the chefs really wanted to bring out the quality and freshness of each ingredient that they were using without bringing any overpowering flavors into the dish itself. While we were late by over an hour due to some unforeseen circumstances, the staff was still kind enough to get us seated, and we didn't feel rushed at all during the entire time we were there. The staff was also very friendly and accommodating, and they also took some time to actually explain each of the dishes that we were getting as well. With all that being said, personally I didn't think that the lunch course stood out too much. Maybe it's because we got the Celebration of White Asparagus menu, which had a lot of ingredients that we don't typically eat. However, QUINCE is still a very nice restaurant, especially for a special occasion, if you don't mind spending that kind of money for a meal. We definitely had our fill in bread and ate some very nice asparagus dishes that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to try, which made this experience much more memorable. If you're looking for a restaurant for a special occasion, QUINCE is a good restaurant to keep in mind, but just make sure that you can afford the price tag before you make a reservation. If you like this video, hit that like button. Also consider subscribing if you want to see more of my content, and I'll see you in the next one.